I think there's so many fucking powerful people that are on those lists. Like their thing is to do something that is horrible, and it's not available to other people. So it's like, I think there's like a sickness that people have when they have power, like extreme power. What is the next crazy thing that's going to explode in the news? Is Bill Clinton's going to have an OnlyFans? Like, what is going to happen?
What really happened behind the closed doors at Diddy's infamous party? As the second week of the trial unfolds, shocking testimonies are surfacing. Joe Rogan has dropped bombshell insights on his podcast, calling out the inconsistencies no one else is brave enough to mention, but what was said in court that caused the public to gasp. And why is this creating so much chaos for the defense?
What is the next crazy thing that's going to explode in the news? Is Bill Clinton's going to have an OnlyFans? Like, what is going to happen? What is the next thing that's going to make us all go, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's coming.
How many guys were on video saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party? How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron?
Yeah, how Ashton Kutcher, all these people. Like, you guys all went? You didn't see nothing? Donnell went? Yeah. Did he? Of course he did.
Donnell trying to defend himself.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he trying to defend himself right now?
It's pretty funny.
I got to call him up. Donnell, you got to back away from that.
Isn't there a video with Kamala?
She was at one of the Diddy parties?
Isn't she in the background with...
It might have been the difference between Diddy parties and freak-offs. Oh, my God.
They're giving him shit, too, because he's sitting in his little...
the guy from Chappelle's show?
Yeah.
And then Dave's there, too. And then Russell Simmons, too. Oh, boy. But is that at a party, or is that just a group of them together?
They were, like, on a yacht or something like that.
Okay, but that's not the Diddy party.
No, yeah, it's not like they were kind of...
I think...
You think Diddy was rogue, or Diddy was like Epstein type? Working for somebody?
That's a good question. Well, it would be a great way to compromise celebrities. Yeah. And get them to say whatever you want them to do, get them to do whatever projects you'd like them to do. And, if you're a bunch of other celebrities are there, you're like, oh, look, Bill Clinton's here. This is fine.
Yeah.
This is cool. Look at this. Like, Brad Pitt's here. Well, this is cool. You don't even think there's anything wrong with being there. Meanwhile, you're getting drugged up and filmed, and then they're passing out punch. Have some punch, Aaron. And you have some punch, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm feeling really good. I just feel amazing. You're all mollied up. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Probably a combination of things they give you.
And it's all being filmed.
Crazy. Now, if that's not an intelligence agency operation, it's just one fucking evil super genius who figures out how to compromise everybody by providing this crazy freak off party. Everybody's got to put their phones away. Okay, we're going to put our phone away. No one's going to know anything. Yeah, I mean, there's cameras everywhere. It's just one guy doing that. What a diabolical human being.
Yeah.
He seems pretty diabolical.
He's probably working with somebody.
The courtroom was electric, every seat filled with reporters, legal analysts, and curious spectators eager to hear what would unfold next. Diddy, seated next to his defense team, hardly looked up as the second week of the trial began. The case had already captivated public attention, but as new testimonies emerged, the details grew darker and more disturbing, reshaping the narrative around what happened at his now infamous party. The glamorous image of music royalty was being dismantled bit by bit, replaced with allegations that hinted at something far more sinister. One of the most explosive testimonies came from a former party guest who described the night in vivid, haunting detail. Under oath, they recounted an atmosphere of unchecked excess, alcohol flowing freely, security turning a blind eye, and in their words, rules that didn't seem to apply. The witness claimed that certain private areas of the event were heavily restricted, guarded by what they described as intimidating enforcers who ensured entry was allowed only for a select circle. What shocked the courtroom, however, wasn't just the exclusivity, it was their account of what allegedly happened behind those closed doors. Another key testimony came from a former member of Diddy's inner circle, someone who had until recently worked closely with him. This witness provided shocking insight into the weeks leading up to the event. They described preparations that allegedly prioritized discretion above all else. Their statement included a claim that security procedures were explicitly designed to keep outsiders completely in the dark, and they strongly implied that some guests were handpicked for reasons far beyond simple celebrity connections. While the defense objected to parts of this testimony, arguing relevance, the damage was already done for. The jurors watching this painted a picture of deception and control that cast an entirely new light on the evening in question. Legal analysts have been quick to weigh in with their takes on how these testimonies might influence the outcome of the trial. One analyst noted that such detailed accounts put the defense in a tricky position, forcing them to address allegations they were likely hoping to keep out of the courtroom. The media, of course, has been equally relentless. Headlines from several outlets have already referred to these revelations as the turning point of the case, and social media is flooded with debates over what this might mean for Diddy's image and future. Perhaps the most striking moment of the week came at the end of one particularly graphic testimonial. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as the prosecutor drove home their point. When the witness stepped down, a murmur rippled through the gallery and several jurors exchanged uneasy glances. Even the judge appeared to stiffen slightly, his expression momentarily betraying his usual impartiality. It was clear that the tone of the trial had shifted, and the defense team seemed visibly on edge as they scrambled to adjust their strategy. But what made these testimonies so powerful wasn't just their content, it was their sheer consistency in contradicting the defense's claims. If this is how the second week unfolded, one has to wonder what lies ahead. As Joe Rogan pointed out during his recent podcast episode, this trial seems to reveal more with each passing day, and his take on these testimonies might offer a perspective few others are examining.
You know, that's like
that's a really great way to say it, because if you denounce, okay, so you say there's no devil,
right?
So then you're somewhat saying that there's no evil, but you're not branding evil with some type of identifying factor. Then you kind of glaze over it a little bit. I think if that's what I'm hearing you're saying, and I agree with it, because it gets a little too. I think people want tangibility. I think people like to be able to understand things and see it for real and so forth. But when you start just talking about root evil, when you start looking at things like, I went to the Oklahoma bombing memorial, and when you look at shit like that, you think about the hate on this country and the 9/11, and you think, or you just take it down to the Boy Scout troop leader or you take it to you take it whatever. Yeah. There is a common denominator there, and that is just what you called it, evil. So call it devil, don't call it devil, but call it evil. The evilness is just in not being aware of it or not allowing ourselves to believe it, I think is part of the...
Well, it's the old quote, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is making people believe he doesn't exist. You know, I've had conversations with people about it, and it's like, Jesus, like just trying to get the documents, like when they're trying to get the Epstein files, like the state of New York, one of the district attorneys was hiding documents that have forced them to get documents. I think there's so many fucking powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild.
Why don't they air it the same way they aired the coverage that Johnny Depp got?
I know. Why don't they? I don't know. They should. The ratings would be amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you air that?
What's going to happen, though, you think?
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get.
Think he's going to sing, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another Epstein. It's another Ghislaine Maxwell, where somebody gets indicted and nobody else indicted for trafficking kids to
to no one. Right.
Joe Rogan didn't pull any punches when he addressed the second week of Diddy's trial on his podcast, calling it a game share. Rogan dissected the explosive courtroom developments with his usual bluntness, taking apart key testimonies that seemed to shift the trial's trajectory. According to Rogan, the details revealed during this week didn't just paint a picture of what might have happened on the night of Diddy's infamous party, they exposed deeper cracks in the stories being told by both sides, leaving the public to question who, if anyone, was telling the truth. During the episode, Rogan zeroed in on one specific witness whose account had drawn widespread attention. This individual's testimony described a chaotic and secretive atmosphere at the event, but Rogan highlighted what he called troubling gaps in their narrative. He pointed out how the witness's timeline of events seemed to shift under cross-examination, a detail that the defense wasted no time exploiting. You can't walk into court with a story full of holes and expect to not get shredded. Rogan said, emphasizing the need for clarity, especially in a case as high-profile as this one. Still, he acknowledged the power of certain elements of their testimony, particularly their descriptions of fear and coercion, which struck a chord with both the jury and the public. Rogan also broke down another moment that many have called the trial's most intense day, yet this came when a close former associate of Diddy took the stand, sharing internal details that many believed would never see the light of day. The witness detailed strict confidentiality measures and alleged that these were part of a broader effort to control who had access to the event's most exclusive areas. Rogan referred to their testimony as chillingly precise, arguing that such details, if true, could spell serious trouble for Diddy's defense team. But as Rogan noted, the credibility of this particular witness also came under fire, with the defense drawing attention to potential biases and personal motivations. It's a chess game at this point, Rogan said. You got people exposing shocking truths, or at least what they say are truths, but at the same time everyone's got an agenda. What makes Rogan's analysis stand out isn't just his attention to detail, but the way he uses his platform to spark larger discussions. His take on this trial has gone viral, with fans on both sides engaging in debates sparked by his remarks. Rogan argued that the accounts shared in court reveal more than legal intricacies. They expose a culture of secrecy among the powerful, one that he suggested isn't unique to Diddy. By unpacking these testimonies through the lens of celebrity privilege, Rogan framed the trial as more than just a courtroom affair. It's a glimpse into a lifestyle that seldom faces scrutiny. As the podcast wrapped, Rogan's strongest argument left listeners stunned. Whatever happens here, this trial is forcing people to take a hard look at just how much stuff gets swept under the rug. He said his words may not have changed the trial's outcome, but they raise the stakes of its public perception, with Rogan suggesting that the witness's credibility holds the key to the case. It opens the door to questions about how this reflects on larger celebrity culture, a point too big to ignore.
What else is taboo? What else is forbidden? Like all this Diddy shit that's coming out. Like,
I was just going to say, doesn't that sound topical?
Jesus Christ. The first day of the trial, did you pay attention to any of that stuff? I looked at it for like 10 minutes this morning, and I was like, I gotta stop. I can't look at this.
Well, what freaks me out is the people sitting in the courtroom listening to it.
Right.
And there's a wide spectrum of people that are getting subjected to it, and you just sit there and go.
Yeah, well, not only that, how about the fact that this guy was running this for decades? He was doing this for decades to who knows how many fucking people, and everybody was scared to talk about it because he'd have them killed. Yeah, it's really wild, man. Evil is a real thing, you know? Nobody wants to believe, because if you believe in the devil, right? If you believe in Satan, you believe in something that's silly. Like most people a lot of people believe in God. If you ask people, do you believe in God? Yeah, well, I'm not religious, but I believe in God. Okay, well, do you believe in the devil? Most people will say no. But do you believe in evil acts? Well, yeah, well, people certainly do evil things. Well, where do you think that comes from? If evil is real, what is it about us that makes us want to deny the possibility that there's some nefarious force that is in human beings, that influences human beings? It's not as simple as like some people are bad, some people are good. No, maybe evil is a real element that you have to fight in life. And that maybe this is just something that's been documented all throughout history, but our arrogance, our secular society wants to keep us from recognizing that as an actual factor. And that's why it gets through.
The prosecution didn't waste any time making their case stronger. During the second week of the trial, they outlined their strategy with precision, calling witnesses to the stand whose testimonies added chilling context to an already explosive situation. But what really tipped the scales were the tangible pieces of evidence entered into the record, evidence Joe Rogan later referred to on his podcast as undeniable. It wasn't just about dramatic witness accounts anymore. With physical proof in hand, the pressure was mounting on Diddy's defense team like never before. One of the key moments came when the prosecution introduced a series of surveillance photos purportedly taken the night of the party. These images, presented alongside timestamps, painted a vivid timeline of events in one. A group of heavily armed guards stood stationed near a cordoned-off room, the very room multiple witnesses had described as central to much of the alleged misconduct. Another photo showed what appeared to be an intense exchange between two partygoers, though it was the background details, the security presence, the positioning of certain key attendees that caught the courtroom's focus. Legal experts quoted afterward called the images damning evidence because they corroborated specific details several witnesses had described under oath. On cross-examination, the defense was quick to challenge the authenticity of the photos, suggesting they could have been manipulated or misinterpreted, but the prosecution swiftly countered, presenting metadata to confirm their validity. A hush fell over the room as one of their digital evidence experts walked the jury through the technical safeguards that proved the photos hadn't been altered. According to Rogan, this moment had completely rocked the defense team, leaving them visibly flustered as their objections failed to gain traction. Courtroom tension escalated even further with the introduction of a series of text messages sent between members of Diddy's staff before and after the party. These exchanges revealed a heightened effort to contain fallout and included instructions warning others to stick to the story. Prosecutors read excerpts aloud, carefully connecting them with earlier testimonies. One message in particular raised eyebrows, a direct text allegedly from a senior member of Diddy's team instructing security staff to confiscate phones from guests at the event. Joe Rogan singled this out on his podcast, calling it the one piece of evidence nobody wants to explain away. But it wasn't just the evidence itself that put cracks in the defense's armor. Rogan noted how inconsistencies in their arguments began surfacing during intense cross-examinations. For instance, where the defense originally painted Diddy as uninvolved in the planning and details of the evening, the messages suggested a level of personal oversight that clashed with that narrative. Each new revelation forced the defense to shift their strategy, often contradicting earlier claims in the process. Legal analysts watching the trial have emphasized the significance of these exchanges. One expert argued the defense needs to control their story, but instead they're losing ground with every passing day. On his podcast, Rogan echoed this sentiment, adding that the piling evidence wasn't just devastating for Diddy's case, it was also a public relations disaster. People are connecting dots they can't unsee, he said, describing how both the prosecution's strategy and the defense's missteps were swaying public and jury opinion alike. By the end of week 2, the defense seemed to be scrambling for stability. Rogan predicted that the evidence revealed so far has the potential to decide the trial's outcome, especially if no counterarguments can effectively neutralize it. But beyond the legal implications, this trial is starting to reflect something far larger, something Rogan hinted at. Perhaps this isn't just about Diddy's actions, but about a broader reckoning with celebrity accountability.
Then this Pimp C tape.
All I can tell you, there was a famous R&B chick, and it was a guy that was getting money at the time. And, you know, Pimp, he used to be in the studio. And every now and then he'd have a camcorder, so he was able to get some footage. And he wanted to do something with the footage, but I don't know why he didn't do nothing with it, but if I could have got a hold of that tape, I'd be a billionaire, man. Whoever it was, they would have to kill me, man. I know TMZ would have paid a bank for that one, man. But yeah, it is a tape, and if you read the comments, a lot of people figured out. Okay. A lot of people figured out because, you know, people that was in Houston at the time, they know who was a little...
Comments about P. Diddy, the allegations?
Don't leave. You don't need to speak out against this Diddy thing. What's your take now? John, you made a statement about Diddy. What? Jason, hey, my man, do you have any reaction to the Diddy scandal? Any reaction? No reaction? Is everything going? Everything good. Is Hollywood going to survive this Diddy thing? Like, where were they? Will you respond? She wants to respond. Look at it. I want to ask about the Diddy scandal. Have you ever heard of anything such?
No.
Go. No? Is the Baldwin family at all concerned about Justin Bieber with this P. Diddy thing?
Before somebody.
Maybe.
And maybe he just got too far out there.
Some of the shit that came out in the trial, though, like he's forcing his girlfriend to have sex with prostitutes while he was sitting there jacking off with a bandana on. She'd rub the jizz on his nipples. Like, what are we even talking about?
But what's he going to go away for? Like, what's the charge? Is it kidnapping, or is it
I don't think he's even being charged for beating her up. Like, the video of him beating her up, he's not even getting in charge for that. Megan Kelly said that. She said,
who's got all the videos?
Yeah, what's in the videos? What's that about? I mean, what would happen? What would happen
we need
if we got videos?
We need Candace to do a deep dive.
If we got videos of thousands of celebrities just butt fucking each other and sucking dicks and taking Molly, and guys are passing them around, like. Combs pleaded not guilty to the new superseding indictment, which added 2 charges to bring the total to 5. He's charged with racketeering, conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking. So he's not being charged with the assault.
The sex trafficking is the worst.
But he could get charged with it in the future. It's not like they can't like charge him with more stuff.
That's what needs to.
Alleged to use threats, force, and coercion to get victims to engage in sex acts, once allegedly dangling a victim over an apartment balcony, according to prosecutors.
Joe Rogan didn't mince words when he called this trial a wake-up call for Hollywood's elite. During his latest podcast episode, he argued that beyond Diddy's personal reckoning, this case exposes the darker reality of celebrity party culture, a world where wealth and status allow certain behaviors to flourish, unchecked, only surfacing when situations spiral out of control. Could this trial mark a turning point for how the public holds these figures accountable, or will it be another controversy swept under the rug once the headlines fade? The testimonies from the trial have pulled back the curtain on an environment often kept in the shadows. Witnesses described Diddy's parties as over-the-top spectacles where discretion was an unspoken rule. Some accounts painted a picture of lavish events that catered not just to ego but to something far more self-indulgent. One witness spoke about the unspoken hierarchy of guests split between those who belonged and those who were merely there to fill the room. What made these allegations even more unsettling wasn't just the behavior, it was what they suggested about the power dynamics at play. According to a former staff member, the event's exclusivity wasn't just part of its allure, it was enforced with caution that bordered on paranoia. Rogan tied these revelations to broader scandals in the entertainment industry, many of which followed a similar pattern. He referenced other high-profile cases where the veil of celebrity culture was lifted, exposing environments where power systems had shielded misconduct for years. On the podcast, Rogan remarked, "This isn't just about Diddy, this is about how insulated the rich and famous become. It's like living in a bubble where consequences don't apply until someone comes along and pops it." What sets this trial apart, however, are the personal stakes for Diddy. While scandals involving the entertainment elite are not new, this particular case has captured attention because it taps into a deeper cultural conversation. Rogan suggested that these events are no longer viewed simply as wild parties but as microcosms of systemic issues. He argued that the fallout could extend far beyond the courtroom. People are watching this trial closely because it represents something bigger. Rogan said it's about accountability and whether the system ever really catches up to the people who have operated above it for so long. But will this case actually change anything? Rogan's skepticism was clear. He cautioned against expecting too much, highlighting how often celebrity scandals gain momentum only to fizzle out when the public moves on to the next headline. Still, the trial's details combined with the blistering commentary on platforms like Rogan's could make it harder for this story to quietly fade away. His prediction: the entertainment industry's inner circles won't walk away from this without some self-reflection. Whether that results in genuine change or just tighter secrecy is a question only time will answer. The revelations from Diddy's trial aren't just altering his image, they're sparking a larger conversation about how celebrity culture operates in plain sight. Joe Rogan's outspoken commentary amplified this shift, forcing audiences to question how much power and privilege shield the elite from scrutiny. His insights highlight a system designed to protect those at the top, raising unsettling questions about what has been normalized in the entertainment industry. What the final verdict might expose could be even more shocking, peeling back further layers of this hidden world. Viewers, consider this: how much are we willing to let slide before accountability becomes the standard? The revelations from Diddy's trial aren't just altering his image, they're sparking a larger conversation about how celebrity culture operates in plain sight. Joe Rogan's outspoken commentary amplified this shift, forcing audiences to question how much power and privilege shield the elite from scrutiny. His insights highlight a system designed to protect those at the top, raising unsettling questions about what has been normalized in the entertainment industry. What the final verdict might expose could be even more shocking, peeling back further layers of this hidden world. Viewers, consider this: how much are we willing to let slide before accountability becomes the standard?